Greetings, Arts Beatniks. It's the KC Arts Beat Report. I'm Patrick Neas. Thanks for joining me. Today, we're going to be talking about some great choral music. If you love choral music, but you want to hear something different and expand your horizons, or even if you're a newbie to choral music, this is a great concert that's coming up on Friday, February 20th at St. Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church. And before I get into this, and I have a couple of special guests with me today to tell you about it, I want to ask you to please subscribe to KC Arts Beat on YouTube. Please like us on Facebook and also subscribe to our Substack newsletter too. We have a lot of great news all the time on the arts in Kansas City and around the world. So it would very much appreciated if you would do that. But right now it's time to say hello to our good friend William Baker, the conductor of the William Baker Festival Singers, who has brought along a guest with him. And Bill, I'm going to let you introduce that guest.
Well, I'm honored to do that. And I'm also honored to be a part of KC Arts Beat again. And Patrick, thank you for everything that you do, not only for our organization, but for all of the performing arts here in Kansas City. Dr. Sean Sweeden is the fourth composer in residence of the Choral Foundation and principally involved with the William Baker Festival Singers. I've lost count of the wonderful pieces that he's written for us, but we are looking forward to doing a weekend of concerts entirely of Sean's music. And the first performance, as you said, will be Friday, February 20th. 7:30 at the St. Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church in Mission, Kansas. And then we're going on the road to sing it in Fayetteville, Arkansas on Saturday, February 21st, and at the Mildred B. Cooper Memorial Chapel in Bella Vista, Arkansas on Sunday, February 22nd.
And it's very fitting you're doing a concert in Arkansas because your composer in residence hails from there. And so I want to ask you about how you made it. I guess you're the Arkansas traveler, Sean. You made it from Arkansas to Kansas City. Tell us about your journey, your musical journey.
Sure. So my parents are both musicians. My dad's a choir director and piano teacher. So I grew up with music. So I did my undergraduate studies in Russellville, Arkansas, at Arkansas Tech University. And that was focused on vocal and instrumental music, which was percussion. And then from there, I went to the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville and focused on percussion performance. And it was during my master's in Fayetteville where I started getting into composition more and started taking some composition lessons at that time.
Wow.
And then I knew I wanted to continue on to get a doctorate in percussion. And I ended up going to UMKC. I had gone to a seminar for timpani study a couple of years before I finished my master's, and I really liked the area, and so I had a good audition and ended up coming to UMKC.
That's great. And Bill, how did you happen to connect with Sean?
Well, the composer in residence before Sean was Ed Fraser Davis. And we had a member of the Festival Singers whose sister sang in a choir in Illinois that Ed Fraser Davis was a part of. And when Ed was coming to Kansas City to do doctoral work at UMKC, she had the idea that we should all get acquainted. So we met at my favorite coffee shop over there in Prairie Village with Ed. And after about an hour, I had invited Ed to be a composer in residence back in those days and invited him to be a part of the Festival Singers. And when he came into the Festival Singers, he said, "Man, I got a great tenor for you."
Oh.
And Sean Sweeden, aside from being a brilliant percussionist and a insightful and expressive composer, is also a fantastic tenor. So Sean auditioned for festival singers, and of course, we were thrilled to appoint him. And when, as we became acquainted with his music and the opening came for our next composer in residence, there wasn't any hesitation and there wasn't any doubt who we were going to appoint.
Uh-huh. That's awesome. Sean, tell me and people who are tuning in about your music. That's an interesting combination of percussion and choral. I'm thinking of like Benjamin Britten, what he did with Burning Fiery Furnace. I can imagine in my head how percussion and choral music really go well together.
Yeah, so um, all the way back to when I started beginning band in sixth grade, I had been taking piano lessons from my dad and was singing in choir. So I understood melodic uh, content and things like that. And I was really wanting to do something that seemed very different from singing or piano. So that's where I chose percussion um, as my instrument. And so from then all the way through my doctorate, I I was in choir and band and other ensembles doing percussion. Um, so it was just kind of um, a um, natural thing for me to try to work with both of those things that I love so much.
Are there any composers that you find especially inspiring that might influence you, if not directly, but are just kind of in your head sometimes?
Oh, I think what's unique for me about my music is that I take from so many different uh, sources of inspiration. So, like all the way from John Williams to Benjamin Britten, um, and even popular music. Um,
It seems like there's even, looking at the program list, which is pretty extensive, there's even a medieval influence in some of your music. Is that, and and I hear a lot of your medieval recordings that use percussion. So I mean, I've never heard your music, Sean, but I can imagine that.
yeah, and um, so my doctoral project that I chose to do was actually focused on music for choir and percussion. So I did a concert kind of like this that we're going to be doing, but it wasn't a composition recital. There were a couple of my pieces, and then I chose works by other composers. Um, but to me, the interesting thing about the voice and percussion um, is just being able um, to work with both of them and see how they can sort of mimic what the other can do.
Uh-huh. Now, that's very interesting, isn't it, Bill? For percussion to mimic voice.
Well, I think it is, and I think that that's one of the signatures of Sean's music. I often say, and I've said this to you in other interviews at other times, that one of the things that I look for in composers that I want to champion is a variety of sounds. There are a lot of composers that write with tracing paper, and I'm not going to be critical of them because I can barely write my name. I certainly couldn't write any music, but there are, in other words, everything sounds the same. And excellent composers, and Sean is certainly one of the most excellent composers I've ever encountered. He has so many different musical languages, but rhythm and energy and vitality in rhythm is one of his signatures, even in some of the choral pieces that do not use percussion instruments. Um, my my favorites crowd each other out in this program, but I think that my absolute favorite piece in this concert is Sunward, is the piece of John Gillespie McGee Jr., who was a Canadian pilot that wrote this poem, High Flight, not too long before he perished in a training accident. But there's a place in it where Sean, using a polyrhythmic and polytonal section, it creates the image of flight. You can almost hear the propellers of a World War II era plane, and the plane is dancing, and you can hear in the from the poem the delight that McGee had in flight. And then at the end of it, it has the phrase, put out my hand and touch the face of God.
Mhm.
And it is profound in its beauty, profound in how it captures the idea. And I see that in several of Sean's pieces where he has used percussion instruments in partnership with the voices, and even showing the influence of his complex rhythms in pieces that do not use the instruments.
Well, you're doing many pieces by Sean on the concert, so we don't have time to talk about all of them. But Sean, could you maybe pick out two or three of your favorites? I know that's like asking you to choose two or three of your favorite children, but
Yeah.
you know, if you could like give us a couple of highlights to give people a taste of maybe the variety that'll be on the program.
Sure. So the opening piece on the concert is a setting of Alleluia. Um, I uh, I wanted to at some point um, compose a piece using just Alleluia, because that felt like a challenge to just have one word. You don't have a very descriptive poem to work with to inspire you. So um, I the choir has lots of fun rhythmic things going on, and and then I like to juxtapose the rhythmic texture with melodic movement on top of it. So that's a big part of that piece. And I then, to incorporate percussion, I have a I'll be playing on that one, and I have a setup of four different suspended cymbals and a gong and some triangles. So, metallic, bright, shimmering sounds.
Nice. I love that kind of sound. Hovannes does that a lot in a lot of his music, and it's just so shimmery. I love it.
Mhm.
How about one more piece?
Let's see. So the final piece on the program is going to be a premiere. It's called "We Are Held," um, and the text I actually got from um, a poetry book from my choir director when I was at UMKC, Dr. Robert Bodie. Um, and I went through that book, the poetry book called Crickets and Commas, and I settled on this text, "We Are Held," and it's gospel inspired, and uh, I've got, with percussion on that one also, three triangle parts, um, and it's kind of more of a um, like Cuban style playing with the triangles, where you have the short notes combined with the long sustained notes, um, and then tambourine along with that. Um, but yeah, the poem was just really good to work with to write that piece.
Sounds like a great way to end the concert. And before I let you go, I have to tell you about one of the songs that you've written that it really jumped out at me. It's called Beneath the Snow. It was written in tribute to Liz Stevens, who is one of my dearest friends who passed away 2017 at the young age of 35. She was a very gifted percussionist, and gifted in so many things. I mean, she was studying video and film in New York. And anyway, I was really happy to see that. Bill, you were saying that that's one of your favorites too.
It really is. And we've had some of our members that have struggled with bereavement and have lost people precious to them, and they have found it's been deeply moving for them to sing this piece, and I think that they have found comfort and affirmation with it. I certainly hope that it's in the setting of a hymn, and I certainly hope it appears in a hymnal one day, maybe many hymnals one day. And in my church, I will certainly use it on All Saints' Day.
Very good. I know it's interesting. This concert is going to be taking place in the church where Liz's memorial service was held. I'll never forget it, how packed the church was and how much love you could feel there. Bill, tell us again when and where and how people can get tickets.
Our concert is going to be Friday, February 20th, 7:30 p.m. at the St. Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church, 6630 Nall Avenue in Mission, Kansas. And tickets for this concert and all performances of the Festival Singers and the Choral Foundation are available at choralfoundation.org/concerts.
And you've always got great stuff going on. You have more concerts to come this year, so do check that out. Bill, William Baker, and Sean Sweeden, it's been a real pleasure to meet you, Sean, and learn
Yeah,
more about your background and hear about your music. And we'll look forward to taking in that concert. Bill, you'll certainly be back, I hope. You're one of my favorite guests, so
Well, thank you, Patrick.
I love that Southern charm, you know. Anyway, you've been listening to the KC Arts Beat Report. Please subscribe to KC Arts Beat on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to our Substack channel. And until next time, I'm Patrick Neas.